and wanted to let you guys know that it's Tuesday, so this will be for Wednesday. I'm going to be out of the office and wanted to give you guys a video for YouTube, Facebook, and basically social medias that we can go through. Remember, if you guys are new to me or have any questions, you can come over to profitpilot.com. That's where you can find more information about me. And then other than that, let's kind of dip into the market. Remember, basically it's Christmas and New Year's and everyone's kind of on vacation. There's really not too much going on. Things tend to be drifting in the direction that they've already been going, and you can see that today, Tuesday, volume is really, really low. And this is really just kind of, I think this is what it's going to be like for the rest of the week. And so, maybe a little bit of day trading or hang on to your positions that are working out, but it's a time to just be careful out there. When the volume is low like this, a few people can move the market a lot, and so things can kind of get pushed around quite a bit. So just kind of be aware of that if you're going to be trying to trade. Otherwise, take the time off. This is a good time to just kind of lay low, study a little bit, practice if you need to, maybe build some lists for next year, or just take some time off and enjoy your family and your friends, and go do something else for a while, because probably not too much is going to be happening with the markets. That being said, if we look at the SPY, I've been looking for a little bit of bullishness. I don't know if we're going to get a Santa Claus rally. That's kind of been the talk of the town recently. We'll have to see. It's holding up fairly well, but nothing is quite moving. Let's see. When I was looking at today, so remember Tuesday, I did see price here tap the 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator above zero. So I was looking at that, I was like, oh, okay, we might get a move. Might get a move to the upside. And I was going to see if price wanted to move past the 15-minute 200 or up over the hourly 50, anything like that. And it really didn't. Basically today it was just chop, went sideways. If it did want to go up this week, if it was able to break past those moving averages, then I could see price coming up to, maybe the daily 21 area, something like that. It probably come up to the hourly third ATR, maybe a little bit further, if it's really got that kind of gusto in it. If it does get up here, then I would be looking at this as a bounce and a downtrend. I think it would be a pretty good short area. And part of why I say that is because price up over a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero is basically a bounce and a downtrend. And then also here coming into the underside of the 21 EMA should also be a good shorting area. So if it goes up, I would look to short it. You can trade it to the upside if it happens to give you a good opportunity. Otherwise, if that doesn't work out, then what we could be seeing is price continue to get pushed down, guided down by the hourly 50 and by the 15-minute 200, something to that extent. So it's really just kind of going sideways. We'll have to see what the market wants to do. I'd like to see if there's a bounce to the upside. I think that would give a cleaner short entry. But we could also just see that there could be continued weakness and everything and just kind of not doing too much. For example, if we look at the NASDAQ, there's just no strength there. Just no strength. Nothing happening. You can see here, it can't even get over its 15-minute 50. So this looks pretty weak. Same with the semis. And I look at this and I keep thinking, well, if these things just want to keep moving down, then yeah, the market's really going to have a hard time moving to the upside. Now, conversely, maybe these things are getting to a point where they're getting a little bit stretched to the downside, and maybe we could see a bounce or a short covering rally. That's a possibility. But I just don't see anything yet. Nothing has really held. Nothing has moved. I mean, we got this bounce last week, and that was really about it. And that one I was talking to our traders with, and I said, yeah, it looks to me like we're going to get a bounce, but don't trust the bounce. And the reason not to trust the bounce is because of here. This 15-minute Moxie setup was not strong. I mean, it was a setup. I could look at this and say, yes, it looks like price is going to bounce, but don't trust it, because the indicators were spread from each other, which means that they don't agree with each other, which means they're weak. So spread indicators mean they're weak. And then also I could say here that I was looking for price to pull back to the 15-minute 50 or lower. And so all that happened here on the NASDAQ, and we continue to get lower. If we look at the IWM, this one just kind of going sideways too. It's like the SPY. It's really not doing much. I mean, it tried to get over the 15-minute 50. Can it bounce and break over the hourly 50? Maybe. And if it can, it's going to be another bounce and a downtrend. Just like that was a bounce and a downtrend. It's just going to be on a different level. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And if that bounce doesn't happen, then this is just going to continue to flag sideways, do a bear flag into the underside of downtrending moving averages like that hourly 50, and then it's going to continue to slide to the downside. The Dow has been one of the stronger ones, and this is already kind of done that bounce. So if we're looking at like strongest to weakest, the Dow is the strongest. I think the Nasdaq is the weakest, and you can see here we did get that bounce over the hourly 50. We did get that move up to the daily 21. So that's kind of what I've been looking for, and I wanted to see if the SPY could do that, because the SPY is kind of in the middle. So if the SPY can get to its daily 21 and over its hourly 50, then I imagine that the Dow would get up to its hourly 200. But if it can't, then here was the bounce, and it's going to roll back over because this is an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, and this is not really looking very strong on the 15-minute time frame. So again, I'm really kind of looking at these. I'm just trying to see if there's a bounce to set up a better short. Otherwise, these are bear flags, and they're just going to flag sideways into resistance and then roll over. And if we look at the semis, yeah, just like the Nasdaq, just no strength in through here. Yes, it's been moving down. Again, we got one little bounce in a downtrend. And if this does happen to bounce anywhere, just keep in mind the Moxie indicator on the hourly chart is very far below 0 and showing no signs of strength. So bounces should be sold into. All right, so that's the semis. And if we look at let's go look at the VIX. Let's try to see if we get any clues in through here. It's not doing much either. It took me a while to kind of look at what this was going to do, basically from this move up into the daily 50 and then pull back. And then it finally perked back up a little bit. And what that did is that made for a trampoline move. So price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0 is a trampoline move. That should be bullish for the VIX. Obviously, it's not moving. Market's not moving. So we're kind of waiting to see if this thing's setting up to go do something. And then you can also see there's a double bottom here on the daily chart. And we'll just have to see if this kind of positive divergence and trampoline move on the hourly chart actually does something. So keep an eye on this. Of course, everyone's kind of, VIX low, look out below situation. And we'll see if that happens. Having the VIX down here is a little bit concerning as far as, the market strength. And then if we look at the UVXY, again, not much action has really been happening with this thing. It's just nothing's really been going on. There has been a slight increase in volume over the last 2 weeks, but again, not much. The only other thing I can kind of point out is that price has been below the 50, but the Moxie indicator has been above 0. That's a trampoline move, but it hasn't kicked in yet. You can see that clearly price is not engaged with any moving average, so it's really just been chop. So is this going to do something, or is it just kind of dead for a while? Maybe it won't happen during this next week. Maybe something will happen in the new year. I don't know, but there's not much to work with here either. So if we take that and then we go over to, let's take a look at the dollar. The dollar, now if I do show you this, the dollar we know was very, very overbought. And again, it's a very macro thing. This has, economies and the Fed and the global implications and all this kind of stuff. So I'm only trying to wrap technical analysis around this because sometimes it works and there are good things to know, but there are very large macro forces involved with this that I'm not going to pretend to say, I'm looking at this thing and that's going to make it work. But I am noting that it is sitting here on the weekly 50. Now, maybe that's a thing, maybe it's not, maybe it wants to come down to the weekly third. I'm also noting that it is getting a little bit of a gap here between price and the 8 EMA, and it could be demonstrating it's getting a little bit stretched to the downside. But nothing's happened yet. The daily chart, I look at this and I say, yeah, it's also been a while since price has touched the daily 50. In fact, it hasn't touched, it's only fallen through. And a lot of times we see a snap back up to something like the daily 50. So I am generally looking to see if this is going to bounce up. I'm also seeing price down, Moxie indicator up, and the Moxie indicator staying above 0 on the hourly chart. So if this does move up, like if this thing does finally get oversold to where it bounces, that would be bad for stocks. Dollar up, equities down. So that's kind of what I'm looking at and seeing if this is going to happen. Nothing's triggered yet. It kind of looks like UVXY, like it's drying. We can see the pressure that's involved, but nothing's triggered, hasn't engaged with any moving averages, and it can't carry a new trend, can't carry a bounce. Maybe it all changes tomorrow, but so far we just don't see anything yet. Now, just keep this in mind. This also looks almost exactly opposite from something like GDX. Now, I'm on my list. Let's go look at GLD real quick. GLD, GDX. Let me come over here to say the weekly and daily and the hourly. The thing I just want to kind of point out is that the weekly is on its weekly 50. Same with the dollar. The dollar is on its weekly 50. Maybe they're gonna, they seem to be lined up fairly well. Maybe inversely. And if you look here at the daily chart, you've got another 50, 250. And so what I would tend to say is around this area, I would be expecting price to come back down and test the 50. Now it could go lower, something like that, but I would expect this and this to meet up at some point. And if I look at the hourly chart, I see price up, and again the Moxie indicator down. These look almost exactly inversely related to the dollar. So I'm seeing that these are kind of coming upon some upper resistance, and I'm seeing some support on the dollar, and I'm just kind of looking to say, okay, when is this trade going to happen? I'm not sure, but it's something to be watching for, and it seems like something is kind of getting ready to move. And if we look at silver, it's already come all the way. I mean, it's had a pretty big move up here, and you can see it's now up here at its weekly third ATR. Maybe it's getting a little bit of weakness up here, nothing to really work with, but you can see that here on the hourly chart for that negative divergence. And then if we look at GDX, GDX look very similar to GLD, and what I'm looking at in through here is another 50, 250 maneuver, and also an inverse trampling move on the hourly chart as price runs into the underside of the weekly 50. So if you're on the long side, I'd be really careful about these things because it seems to me it's getting to the point where it wants to change directions. Nothing's triggered yet, but it just looks that way. If we look at Tesla, Tesla is just falling off a cliff. I mean, absolutely falling off a cliff. And what I want to show you is, wow. And also notice the volume. What is the volume that is coming into this thing? It seems like big money is coming out of it. Big institutions are getting rid of Tesla. And if we notice, like, this is extreme selling. We are way outside of the third ATR. Typically, when you get outside of the third ATR, it does bounce at some point. This is getting pretty far down there. Now, maybe it's capitulatory. Maybe this is as bad as it gets, and it's about to bounce. Maybe, but I don't see anything yet. And if you notice, here is the Moxie price trigger, and from that point, it's been following the hourly 50 all the way down, and more precisely, it's been following the 15-minute 50 all the way down. That is a fast trend. When you're following the 15-minute 50 for this many days, whether it's up or down, that is a fast trend. So really crazy how this is happening. People are just running for the exits and hitting the eject button and get me out of there. So Tesla, wow, man, that's some big moves to the downside right there with volume. Now Microsoft, it's kind of like the semis and NASDAQ, obviously, and not much really going on. After it got hit by the 200, it's back down here to the 50, and it's been following the hourly 50, sure. Is it getting to a place where it could bounce? I kind of keep looking for that, trying to see if it's going to bounce, and then you can short it again. Otherwise, it's going to just kind of hang out here until it goes lower. I just don't really see much. It's kind of neutral in through here, and it's hard to really make sense of what's going to be happening next. Is it going to bounce, or is it just going to keep melting down? So Microsoft, very similar to the rest of the market. And then I look at Apple, and let me come over here. Let's see, this one. And Apple continues to move down. It is nearly making new lows. Nearly. Like you see that right there. It is back at its previous low from around 613, 6.6, whatever that week was. And it's down there. So it's not looking too good either. But again, I kind of look at this and I'm like, it's getting a little bit stretched. It's been down here at the third ATR. It's been spending a lot of time down here. Maybe the Moxie indicator kind of, on the 15-minute trying to put some upward pressure in here. It would be a tough place to want to get short here thinking it's going to keep going lower. It can happen. I mean, look at Tesla. It can happen, but it would be better if we could just get a bounce to the short. That's why I'm kind of looking for the market as a whole to bounce. But man, if there are no buyers that come in here, or if the sellers don't get shut off, we're just going to see these things continue to just slide and slide and slide. So that's Apple. And then TAN. One thing I wanted to mention in through here, right here, is if you guys been following me, or if you're a part of the Moxie group, you know that we talk about the first move over a downtrending 50. Well, here's the second move into it. Now, the second move doesn't guarantee that it's bullish. It doesn't guarantee that that pullback is a buy. All it says is most likely price is going to come back down to the 50. And that's exactly what it did. And it did so with here's your Moxie price trigger, and then this bounce up over the hourly 50 was an inverse trampoline move. Kind of looks a lot like GDX, just a heads up on that one. And then you can see it continue to get rejected by the underside of the hourly 50 and basically follow the 15-minute 50 to the downside. So just want to kind of show that one. And the takeaway here is notice, price over and then pull back on the daily chart. Check out TLT. Now TLT again is a very macro situation. It involves the Fed and a whole bunch of other moving parts. But notice first move over a downtrending daily 50, and what did it do? Came back down to the 50. So those of you who've been listening to me for a while and know my first move, second move type concept, or the 50, 250, that is exactly what happened. Now, what I would have expected is a little bit of a bounce here at the 21, because typically we kind of leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, and then the elf toe. It didn't do that. It really just went up, kind of flattened out for a lot, and then right back down. So, boy, that was a pretty stiff move right back down there. We'll have to see where it wants to go from here, honestly. Now it's a little bit 3rd ATR on there and kind of into the daily 50, and it's been stretched. Maybe there's a little bit of a reprieve. I don't know. But that 50, 250, or at least the first move, second move was spot on. So I can show you that one. All right. Anybody hear about Southwest Airlines? So yeah, there was that Arctic blast or some blizzard thing that came down north. I'm up here in Washington, and so yeah, we got some of that. We had some. I think we got down to about 15 degrees. Other people got into the serious negative degree temperatures, and a lot of airlines had to cancel some flights for a few days because of all that weather. Southwest, however, I guess is still canceling flights and really struggling for whatever reason. Their computer system is struggling to get back on track after all that kind of stuff. So really big news happening with them specifically. The airlines have been down for a while, again with the 50, 200, 50 maneuver and then some. And this one you can see basically did right there, bounced up over a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0, and then it followed the hourly 50 all the way back down there and basically followed the 15-minute 50 down there too. So news with them, I heard about their situation yesterday, today, because one of my friends, we're supposed to be meeting up this week, and he could not get out of town because his Southwest, he was flying Southwest, and they got basically shut down. And so I was like, I wonder how their stock is doing. Well, lo and behold, their stock is down even more today compared to the rest of the airlines. And you can see it's on big volume too, 300% over normal volume. Then maybe some bullish areas. BORR is another oil driller producer, oil related name that I follow. It's been a little choppy in through here, but I've been watching it, and there was a setup. So what we can see is we had price below the daily 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0, trampoline move. Then we could see we had a double bottom with positive divergence. That's good. And then we could basically see we had a version of a 50, 200, 50 maneuver right there. And we could see that the Moxie indicator fired and price pulled back to the hourly 50, and that was a perfect setup. There you go. So as long as you can find your entry in here, that pullback to the hourly 50 worked, and now you got to move up. Now, how long is this move going to last? I have no idea. This market has been really crazy and weird, but all I can show you is there was the series of events that led to this up move, and how I can show you that price actually worked out to go higher. So okay, 4 worked out. Rig is also having a good time, so maybe keep looking around at some oil related stocks. 50, 200, 50 maneuver right there. The 50 held, price continued to move up. You could also see price pulled back into the hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0, pulled back to the 50, Moxie indicator above 0, and it continued to move to the upside. So we got something like this working to the upside. How long is it going to last? I have no idea. But there you go. That is how that worked out, and those are the clues and the triggers that you can use to actually get things going higher. Now, if we take that and we look at XLE, let me show you this on the monthly and weekly. The XLE got a little overbought right here, also at the double top, so also at the monthly 3rd ATR. And then there's a bit of a gap here, and it pulled back to essentially the monthly 10 and the weekly 21. Okay, so that makes sense. So we're looking for price to pull back, found some strength, likely to move up and bounce. Now, is this a continuation? I can't tell on these time frames because, so far it's coming into those moving averages, and it looks like it wants to go higher. but we don't know if it's going to roll over later. So let's look at the lower time frames and see how this looks. And I would just say be cautious at this point, because we do have price coming up to the underside of the daily 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. That could be a problem. And if we look at the hourly chart, yes, we've seen levels here and the Moxie indicator moving up, and that has worked. But the other situation I'm noting is, talk about that 50-250 situation. We are right here at the 200. So there could be a little bit of noise, oscillation in through here as price probably pulls back to the hourly 50 again at some point. Maybe it goes higher before pulling back. It could do that too. But just be aware that this was a pretty deep pullback, and it might be running into some of this stuff as resistance. I just kind of look back, and there was another situation where price was having to deal with the downtrending hourly 200. And you could see it did test the hourly 50, got over, but there was also a very large pullback here that then confirmed. So that's why I'm saying if we look in through here, there could be some noise and some turbulence, because you are now dealing with that hourly 200. I'm waiting to see if there's a pullback and then how it can continue to kind of crawl its way out of this, because it is challenging having those moving averages angled down when price is trying to go higher. So as I said, yeah, kind of a noisy spot for XLE. All right, guys. Well, as I said, this is recording, so this was done Tuesday after the market closed. You guys will be seeing this Wednesday, and hope everyone's having a good time out there, and you guys take care, and we'll see you next week into the new year. All right, everyone.